Okay, so let us start with our lecture for today. So the topic which we need to discuss is income from house property. Okay, and in today's lecture, we will be covering these points. First of all, we will be discussing that what is written in section 22. Section 22 is nothing but it is the basis of charge of income from house property. If you remember, every act while I was teaching you salary, I have given you the basis of charge there. I teach GST to certain students as well. So there is basis of charge in GST as well. And there is basis of charge in every chapter and in every act. So section 22 is nothing but it is the basis of charge of this particular head. What does basis of charge means? That it will tells us the base that how income from the particular head will be calculated. In this particular scenario, it will tell us how income from house property will be calculated, what will be the base of calculating the income from house property. Okay, we will be covering this in section 22. And then we will cover certain important concepts, certain important definition, the meaning of certain important terms, which are required for the better understanding of what is written in the law as far as income from house property is concerned. Fine. And the third thing, we will be learning that how calculation of NAV is done. So for this purpose, make sure that you have pen and paper ready with you because we will be practicing certain sums in the classroom. Okay. So these are the three topics. After the coverage of these three topics, the class for today will be over and you will be fully equipped to appear in your examination. Okay. So without wasting much of time, let us start with the first topic that is required to be discussed is section 22. That is nothing but the chargeability section or the basis of charge. So what does section 22 says? It says the annual value of any property comprising of building or land appurtenant thereto, of which the assessee is the owner, is chargeable to tax under the head income from house property. So certain important words are there. We will be discussing all these words and then we will be absolutely clear that on what basis income from house property will be derived. Fine. So the first thing here is the annual value. And this is the first step. So section 22 says that if you want to calculate income from house property, first calculate annual value. And in the upcoming slides, we will be discussing that annual value is of two types. One is gross annual value and one is net annual value. So this is the first step. This is the first basis that income from house property will be derived on the basis of annual value, on the basis of yearly value. So whatever income you're getting from the property in the form of house, that income you will take into consideration on yearly basis. How that is calculated, we will be seeing it. Okay. So this is the first word, that the annual value of any property comprising of building or land appurtenant thereto. This is the second thing which we should be aware of. Now, what does this mean? I will discuss, just wait for a moment. The first thing is annual value, which is required to calculate income from house property. The second thing is land appurtenant thereto. Land appurtenant thereto. This is the second thing. The third thing is that whosoever person we are talking about, he must be the owner. This is the third thing. So these three things are the basis of calculating income from house property. Let us discuss these three things one by one. And I hope that annual value is clear, that income will be derived on yearly basis in case as far as this particular head is concerned. Okay. So the first thing is property should consist of any building or land appurtenant thereto. Property should consist of any building. It means if there is any building and you are earning income from that building, listen to me very carefully. If there is a building and you are earning income from that building, then in that case, then in that case it will be chargeable to tax under the head income from house property. Any building, it will be chargeable to tax income from house property. No, do not confuse income from house property. It should be necessarily a house. It can be any building, not only house, but it can be any building. If from a building you are earning something, that will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. So tell me, and you will share your audio option and answer my questions, and then we will be moving further. There is a rapid fire round, so make sure that you answer it as quickly as possible. Okay, you need to answer it in yes or no. So the question is, if I am having a house in Chandigarh and I have given that particular house on a rent, I am receiving the rent. Is that rent chargeable under income from house property? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
other as
sir.
well.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But if instead of house, listen to the question. But if instead of house, I am having a shop in Chandigarh and I am receiving the rent for that shop. It is not a house, but it is a shop and I am receiving rent for that shop. Will that rent be chargeable under income from house property?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Now, again, I'm telling you, listen to me very carefully. Any building, not necessarily a house, any building, whether it is a house, it is a shop, it is a factory, it is a residential building, any building, that will be chargeable to tax. The rent received, the income generated from that building, it will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. It means whatever rent you are receiving from any building. For example, you know, there is a mall with the name Alante in Chandigarh. Okay, if I have a shop, if I have a showroom there, and I am getting a rent from that, it is a building, right? It is a building. No matter what is the for what purpose the building is used. If it is a building, any income received from that building will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. This thing you must make clear in your minds. Whether it is a shop, whether it is a factory, whether it is a house, if you are generating income, that income is chargeable to tax as per the law which has been defined under the head of income from house property. Have I made myself clear, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. I make sure that everyone is participating because the more responses I would be hearing for you, the more interactive I will be making this class. Otherwise, it is hardly a 30 minutes class. I need to teach you how sums are solved. But for the better understanding of the act, for the better understanding of the subject, make sure that you make it as interactive as you can. Moving further, land appurtenant thereto. It is nothing but land connected. Okay, for example, you are having a house. This is the house. And in front of this house, you are having a garden, a small garden. Receiving the rent, let us say, of rupees 25,000 from this property. So the garden which is in front of this particular house, the garden which is in front of this particular house, it is connected, isn't it? Building and garden is connected to each other. Can you separate them? No, you cannot separate them. So if these things cannot be separated, even though there is no building on the garden, the whole amount of 25,000 will be chargeable under the head income and profession. Are you getting my point? Sorry, income are chargeable under the head income from house property. So if there is building or if there is any land appurtenant to that building, that will be chargeable to tax as per the provision of income under the head house property. So if land and building are connected, they cannot be separated. That income will also be chargeable to tax under income from house property. Now tell me, that, listen to the question very carefully. And if you have any doubt in land appurtenant to means land connected to the building. That also will be a revenue generated from that also will be covered under income from house property. For example, you are having a building and there is a huge parking in front of that building. Okay. Now you have given this whole property on rent to a certain person. Okay. And you are telling, and you said him that you need to give me the rent of this building as 10,000 per month. And since there is a huge parking, you can get a person employed here and charge every vehicle to enter in the parking. And whatever income you will earn by letting this property for the purpose of parking, you need to submit me 50% of that entire revenue. Okay, so now there is a building, and in front of that building there is a parking. There's a huge space. Parking and building is land appurtenant to. Parking is connected to the building, and the person is letting out its whole property on rent, and he is receiving 10,000 per month from this particular building, and he is also generating certain amount of revenue which will be variable in nature. Depending upon at what place it is, it will be variable in nature, and he is also generating certain kind of income from this property as well. So tell me that this 10,000, yes or no, this 10,000 will be taxable under the head income from house property, yes or no? The 10,000, that is the rent of the building, will it be chargeable under the head income from house property? Quickly.
Yes, sir.
This 10,000 is easy. It is a building.
Yes, sir.
The income from the parking which the person is generating, will it be chargeable to tax under income from house property? Yes. Will it be chargeable to tax? This the
Yes,
income
sir.
which is generating from parking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you need to understand, listen to me carefully. The law has a very straightforward language. Appurtenant to means connected to. The services cannot be separated. Okay, connected. If you can separate it, it is not appurtenant to. So tell me, can I separate the revenue generated from the building and revenue generated from the parking? Can these two incomes be separated? Yes. Is this income separate, building wali, and this income is separate, parking wali? Are these two incomes separate? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Sir, please repeat the question.
I am telling you, the wording which is written in the law is land appurtenant to. Appurtenant to means land connected to, land attached to. Connected means these are connected. They cannot be separated from each other. They cannot be separated. Are you getting my point? Now, in this particular case, the building, from building you are earning 10,000 rupees. From parking you are earning separate set of income. Separate set of income. So are these connected, or I can separate the income generated from both these property? Can I separate it?
No, sir, we can't separate it.
No, sir.
No, sir.
That's what I am telling you. Now listen to me again. I have building and I have parking. The income generated from the building, is 10,000 rupees. And income generated from the parking is 50% of whatever amount he is collecting. am I separating the incomes or not? 10,000 is for building this. I am separating the incomes. You must understand. I'm not getting the collective rent in this case. Please mute yourself, everyone. But in the previous example, when you were having a house and you were having the garden, in the previous example, the house and there was a garden in front of that house, they were connected. You were taking the collective rent in that particular case. You are taking the collective rent in that particular case. So there I cannot separate. Here it is specifically mentioned that for building it is 10,000, for parking it is this much. Now parking is only a piece of land. There is no building on the parking. So that's why it will not be the case of land appurtenant to. Okay, 10,000 will be your income from house property, and this will go into profit and gains from business or profession, or it will go into your income from other sources. You must understand, if you can separate the income, if you can separate two properties, then you will not consider as land appurtenant to. Let me give you more example. You will have a better understanding of it. You again have a building and you again have a parking. Okay, this is the parking and this is the building. Okay, so parking and building, and you are taking a collective rent of 25,000 from this person. A collective rent of 25,000 from this person. Now tell me, is this separable now? Can I separate the rent of the parking and the rent of the building?
No, sir.
No. No, sir.
Then this 25,000 will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. If they are connected, it cannot be separated. If they are connected, it cannot be separated. Then it will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. And if it can be separated, then it will be taxed accordingly. The case of the building will come under income from house property, and the another one will go under business and profession or income from other sources. So this is the first case. Any income I am generating from building or any income I am generating from land appurtenant to the building, then it will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. I will have a further discussion on that as well in the upcoming slide. Different cases will be discussed. Okay, so you will develop a better understanding, but for the time being, two things. Remember two things. Any income from building, taxable under the head income from house property. Any income from land appurtenant to the building, it will also be taxable under the head income from house property. So these two things are there. Then there must be, assessee must be the owner of that particular property. If the assessee is the owner, then only income generated from that property will be chargeable under the head income from house property. And the last thing is property held as stock in trade. Now, what is the meaning of property held as stock in trade? It essentially means that you are in the business of buying and selling of property. You buy the property at a certain rate, and after that you sell that particular property with a certain profit margin. So this is what essentially means property held as stock in trade. And in such cases, annual value of house property will be charged under income from house property, where it is held as assessee stock in trade of a business also. However, the annual value of the property being held as stock in trade, listen to me carefully. Okay, I will discuss this point afterwards because it has no link with other points. First of all, keep these 2 points into consideration, and on the basis of this point, let us move on to the second part, that is of composite rent. Now, this will develop much more understanding in that parking example as well. For example, if you have a building and you have given that building on rent, and there are other services as well. You have a lift in the building, you are providing a security guard in the building, You also have a generator in that building. And people who are living in flats must be aware of this, that in a flat system, you you have lifts, you have security guards, you have power backup, you have water backup as well. So when you charge the rent of that particular property, then it is the combination of all the services which you are providing. Okay, so when you get the collective rent of all these services, that collective rent is called as composite rent. Fine. Is the meaning of composite rent clear? If you have any doubt, just ask me. If it is clear, then we will move to the taxability of the composite rent. Let us discuss the taxability of composite rent then. See, as far as tax treatment of composite rent is concerned, you must understand that where composite rent includes rent of the building and the charging of different services, that is lift, security guard, power backup, all these services, the composite rent has to be split up in a certain manner. Okay, we need to split that composite rent in a certain manner, and whatever income and whatever rent is of the building specifically, it will be chargeable to tax under income from house property, and whatever rent, whatever portion of that composite rent is the rent for that lift, service, security guard, etc., it will be charged under the head business or profession, or income from other sources. Clear? If rent is the composite of various items, building will be separated, building and land appertaining to it will be separated, and other services will be separated. You will take the services, just charge for the services of a security guard, power backup, lift, and it will be taxable under the head income from other sources or business and profession, and building and land pertinent to it will be taxable under the head, which head? Income from house property. So is this clear? Any doubt? Composite rent clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If it is clear, tell me, if you have a theater, okay, if you have a theater, any revenue generated from that theater, will it be chargeable to tax under income from house property? Yes or no? If you have a theater, so rent generated, theaters are on rent. If you are the owner of the theater, what you will get? What is your source of income? If you are a owner of a theater and some producer is releasing a movie there, what is your source of income as the owner of that theater? Anyone?
The ticket price.
Ticket price. And in the news, if you sure ticket price, and whenever a new movie releases and the news, if you hear that this particular movie had done the business of 100 crores.
Commission as well.
Commission? No. As the anyone else, what is the source of income for the owner of the theater? Ticket price is not the source of the income for the owner of the theater. Whatever price a consumer pays for the ticket, it goes in the pocket of the producer of that movie. A producer book a theater hall for a fixed price. It takes it on rent. It takes it on rent. And whatever income is generated from the purchase of a ticket, that price, that income goes in the pocket of the producer. So price of the ticket is not the income of the owner of the theater. So if you are having a theater, that you are collecting a rent. As an owner, you're only collecting a rent. That's it. Whether only one person is watching a movie in the theater or it is house full, you will get a fixed amount. Nothing else. It's like that. If you want to organize a function, you book a hall, right? You book a hall and you pay a fixed price for that. Please, everyone, mute yourself. Do not force me to take your share audio option, right? because I want you to interact with me. Please behave sensibly. Okay. So what I am saying, if you are having a theater, you are only collecting rent, and rent collected from that theater will be chargeable under the head income from house property. Remember, it's like you go and book a hall for a function, you pay a fixed price. Okay. Similarly, when a producer books a theater hall, he pays a fixed price. And if he's getting a house full, he's earning a lot of money. And if only one person is watching the show, then definitely he's at the loss. The owner of the theater is never at the loss. Okay. If the movie is being projected at his theater. So since theater is a building, right? And whenever you receive any income from the building, that will be chargeable to tax under income from house property. And tell me one thing, that you have a building, that is it only a building, or there are chairs also, there is furniture also? Yes, there is chairs and furniture. There is furniture there. And there is a machinery which projects the movie on the screen. So there is investment of fixed asset as well. So along with the building, you're providing other services as well. Along with the building, you're providing other services as well, of furniture, of that projector, of the screen. All these services, you need to separate it, because you're being paid a fixed price, that is a composite rent. So whatever is the rent of the hall only, that will be chargeable to tax under income from house property, and whatever is the rent from these chair, this projector, this screen, it will be chargeable to tax under income from business or profession, or income from other sources. So you need to make a distinction, only and only building and land appurtenant to income generated from building and income generated from land appurtenant to the building will be chargeable to tax under income from house property, nothing else. Furniture, table, chair, projector, security guard, lift, water supply, power supply, anything that has to be taxed differently. Okay. For example, if you are living in a flat, you have to pay certain extra money along with the rent, that is of maintenance charges. Whatever is the amount of rent, it will be chargeable under house property, and whatever are the maintenance charges, either they will be charged under business or profession or income for other sources. So I hope that I have made myself clear. Any doubt? Yes or no?
No doubt, sir.
Okay, moving further. This income from house property situated outside India, you just do it yourself. There are only 2 points and theoretical points. You can go through these 2 points yourself only, nothing to be discussed separately from my side. Now, the topic which we need to discuss is determination of annual value, that is section 23, and make sure such some important sections you are totally aware of. Okay, so this is an important section, section 23. It tells us about that how annual value will be determined. It tells us about how how net annual value will be determined. So the formula for net annual value is gross annual value minus municipal taxes. Write down this formula. Gross annual value minus municipal taxes paid by the owner during the previous year. 2 words I have circled. Very important word. Municipal tax is paid, not payable. It means if you have paid the municipal taxes, then only you can claim the deduction. It is not like the mercantile system of business and profession. Remember business and profession, mercantile system, whether expenses are paid or not, you will write it in the books of account. Whether income is received or not, you will write it in the books of account. Payment of cash or receipt of cash is not important in mercantile system. But under house property, it is not like that. It is saying if it is paid, then claim the deduction. If it is not paid, then it is not allowed to claim deduction. And it will be allowed only if it is paid by the owner. Okay, because you must understand rent. Rent is the income of the owner. So if owner is paying the municipal tax, then only he can reduce his income with certain point. If tenant is paying the municipal tax, then owner does not have any right to claim that portion of municipal taxes that has been paid by the tenant. He does not have any right to claim that portion as deduction. So if as a owner the municipal taxes are being paid, then only deductions can be claimed. So net annual value is nothing but it is gross annual value minus municipal taxes paid by the owner during the year. It will give us net annual value. Okay, moving further. Now we need to see that how gross annual value will be calculated. Okay, so this is the formula. Formula says step number 1. We need to calculate expected rent. ER stands for expected rent. It says expected rent is equal to fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Just wait for a moment. Corrections need to be done. Yes. Step number 1 is to calculate gross annual values, calculate expected rent, and it will be calculated as fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Now, what is the meaning of fair rent? FR means fair rent. Fair rent means the rent which is going in the market rent. That if you go and take any property in rent, what rent is going into the market, that will be the fair rent. Or municipal value. Municipal value means the rent which has been decided by the local municipal body. Okay, local municipal body, they always decide that what should be the rent as per the municipal corporation. So you will see that what is the municipal value or what is the fair rent, whichever amount is higher, that you will take into consideration. Remember, till now, if you are receiving, this is you, if you are receiving 10,000 rupees as rent, this 10,000 is not relevant for calculating income. Only this 10,000, with only this 10,000 which you are actually receiving, it is not relevant for calculating income. You need to consider other rents as well. So they are saying whatever is the fair rent, not actual rent received by you. Whatever is the municipal value, whichever is higher, take into consideration. Let us say fair rent is 10,000. Let us say fair rent is 10,000. Municipal value is 5,000. Which value is higher? 10,000. So I will take that particular value into consideration. Then this value will be converted with the standard rent. Standard rent is the rent which is as per the Rent Act framed by the government. Okay, there is a special dedicated act as far as the rules of rent is concerned. Then you will compare it with the standard rent, and whichever amount will be lower, you will take that. Let us say standard rent is worth 12,000. So out of 12 and 10,000, which rent is lower? 10,000. Then expected rent will be 10,000. Expected rent will be 10,000. This is step number 1. How to calculate expected rent. Just note down this formula. We will be doing certain sums. Okay. Just note down this formula first. Calculation of expected rent. And for the first time, students who are covering this for first time, I think many of you have covered this before also, but who are covering this for first time, make sure that you also write the full form of these rents as well. Okay. ER is for expected rent, FR is for fair rent, MV is for municipal value, SR is for standard rent. Give me a thumbs up as soon as you have completed writing this formula, then I will move further to the next slide. Okay, step number 2. Step number 1 is calculation of expected rent. Step number 2 is calculation of GAV. gross annual value. So it says expected rent, which you have calculated in step number 1. Expected rent, which you have calculated in step number 1, or actual rent received. ARR is actual rent received. Write it. ARR is equal to actual rent received or receivable. Actual rent received or receivable. Quickly write down its full form. ARR is actual rent received or receivable. Whichever amount is higher, that will be your gross annual value. Whichever amount is higher, that will be your what? Gross annual value. And if you subtract municipal taxes from gross annual value, what you will be getting? Net annual value. Write down this formula and give me a thumbs up as soon as you have completed writing down this particular formula. Yes, if anyone of you have joined late or if you want to ask me anything till the time others are noting down the formula, you can just share your audio and ask me anything if you want to ask. Quickly, everyone, I'm waiting for a response. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, question number 1. You need to calculate gross annual value for house number 1, house number 2, house number 3, house number 4, and house number 5. I will solve first 2 parts for you and then other parts you will tell me the answer. Make sure that you are fully aware of this formula. First of all, you need to calculate expected rent, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Okay, expected rent. Case number 1, fair rent or municipal value, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So tell me what value I will consider. 90,000. Okay, 90,000. Then 90,000 or standard rent, whichever is lower. Standard rent is NA, not applicable. It means the particular area which I'm talking about, to that particular area, this standard rent, there is no standard rent given by the act. So make sure this is not 0. If it is 0, it would have been a different thing. It is NA. So expected rent will be 90,000. Expected rent will be 90,000. Then with this expected rent, I will be comparing ARR. So ERR or sorry, not ERR, ER or AR, actual rent receivable, ARR, whichever is higher. So 90,000 and 72,000. What amount is higher? 90,000. So 90,000 is gross annual value. 90,000 is gross annual value. Any doubt? Just ask me to repeat. If you do not have any doubt, just solve case number 2. Okay. Solve case number 2. What will be the value of gross annual value? And write the answer in the chat box quickly. Orally, you must practice so much that you can solve these questions orally. Yes, do you want me to solve part number 2 or you will solve it yourself first?
Sir, 72,000.
Mm, yes, 72,000 is the correct answer. And if any one of you want me to solve this, just let me know, okay? I will solve this particular case for you. Do not hesitate to ask the doubt. And never ever feel underestimated if anyone else is solving the question and you are not able to solve that. I am here to help you. If you are not able to get the correct answer of the part 2, that is 72,000, and I am writing it in the chat box as well. If you are not able to get that, just let me know. I will solve this for you. Okay? Solve the next part quickly. I'm not having the typed solution for this. Let me solve this particular case for you. The first one is fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Okay, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So tell me, Abhishek, which value is higher? 60,000? Then 60,000 or standard rent, whichever is lower. What what value is lower? Again 60,000. Then 60,000 or 72,000, whichever is higher. Which is higher? 72,000. So 72,000 is the correct answer. Okay. Is it clear, Abhishek? For the third part will be, for the third part, 60,000 will be the correct answer. Then 30,000 will be the correct answer. And then 78,000 will be the correct answer. Make sure that you are getting these answers. And any doubt, just let me know in the comment box. And give me a thumbs up in the chat box as soon as you have completed all these parts, then we will move further. Yes, I'm waiting for a response. Quickly finish the answer and give me a thumbs up so that I can move further. And if you want to sit idle in the class, you may leave. But if you are sitting here, make sure that you utilize it to the fullest extent. Okay, I hope that every one of you have derived at the answers which I have underlined here. Now let us move further. Okay, now give a heading. Vacancy. Because step by step I will be moving so that each and every case. House 3. Wait. Yes, house 3 60,000. I have underlined the correct answer in 60,000. House 4 is 30,000 and house 5 is 78,000. Calculate it. I'm waiting. Take 5 more minutes and calculate it, and then we will moving further to the next case. Okay, so let us discuss the another section of this gross annual value, that is of vacancy. So understand, vacancy essentially means that for the whole year, your house was not occupied. There are 12 months in a year, and let us assume that for 10 months it was on rent, and for 2 months it was vacant, it was not on rent. So 2 months will be of vacancy. And for calculating the gross annual value, we need to consider, we need to take vacancy into consideration, and make sure that whenever vacancy is given to you, what you need to do is you need to convert. Make sure you are writing it. Convert AR and ARR into per month. एक्सपेक्टेड रेंट एंड एक्चुअल रेंट रिसीवेबल को पर मंथ में कन्वर्ट कर दो whenever vacancy is given to you. Okay, for example, let us do a sum and then you will have a better understanding of it. For example, expected rent, I'm not calculating expected rent, uh, is given to you 1,40,000. Okay, 1,40,000 expected rent is given to you. Then ARR, actual rent receivable, is given to you, let us say 1,35,000. Okay, and vacancy of 3 months is given to you, that for 3 months in a year the particular house property was vacant. So if it would have been a normal question, that is vacancy was not given to you, then what you have done, expected rent or actual rent, whichever is higher, that would be your gross annual value. But now you cannot do that because vacancy is given to you, and whenever vacancy is given to you, you need to convert the required value into per month basis. So this is your expected rent. Tell me what will be your expected rent per month. Expected rent per month, it will be 1,40,000 divided by 12. Can anyone solve this for me? 1,40,000 divided by 12. Yes, 1 divided by 12.
11,666.66.
Okay, so it will be 11,667. Okay, so this is expected rent per month. Now, what is actual rent received or receivable per month? ARR per month. Very carefully listen to this step. ARR per month. This is actual, which you are receiving actually. So it will be 1,35,000 divided by 12 minus 3. Okay. Since this is actual rent, so you will consider only actual month. The number of month which on the number of months your property was actually receiving rent. So this point you need to consider. Expected rent is for whole year, so 12 month. But actual rent you will consider only those months for the number of months for which it was occupied. एक्चुअल रेंट के अंदर सिर्फ वही महीने लेने हैं जिन महीनों के अंदर वो ऑक्यूपाइड था, एक्चुअल में जितने महीनों का रेंट मिला. फाइन. सो टेल मी, okay Abhishek, 15,000, and make sure that these calculations are correct and everyone is cross verifying it. I'm only going as per the calculation which you are providing me. So here we have actual rent received or actual rent receivable, that is of 15,000. Now you will compare this value or this value, whichever is higher. Yes or no? expected rent or actual rent, whichever is higher. Which value is higher? 15,000. Which value is higher? 15,000. So GAV will be 1,35,000. हेलो, मुझे बताओ, एक्चुअल रेंट की वैल्यू ज्यादा आई ना, एक्चुअल रेंट की वैल्यू ज्यादा आई, तो जीएवी तुम्हारा क्या हो
Yes, sir.
जाएगा? एक्चुअल रेंट हो जाएगा। सिंपल। अभी और सम करेंगे हम, बस अभी इतना ध्यान रखो कि जब तुम्हें वैकेंसी दी हो कि पूरा साल तुम्हारी प्रॉपर्टी रेंट पर नहीं थी, उस केस के अंदर पर मंथ कैलकुलेट कर लो। पर मंथ कैलकुलेट करने के बाद एक्सपेक्टेड रेंट और एक्चुअल रेंट में से जो भी ज्यादा आएगा ना, जो भी ज्यादा आएगा वो तुम्हारा जीएवी है, ओरिजिनल वाला। आउट ऑफ द expected rent and actual rent, whichever is higher, the original value will be your GAV. Are you getting my point? So 15,000 is higher, so the original value of actual rent, that is 1,35,000, it will be your GAV. Okay. कितने बजे तक है क्लास? आई थिंक आई विल बी एबल टू वाइंड अप इन 15 more minutes. Okay, Harsh? And yes, the recording to you will be available. You can have access to the recording as well. If you have any work to be done, any important work to be done, you may leave. I will be giving the access to the recording to everyone. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay, moving further, just help me to solve one more question so that I can see that whether you have understood it or not. One more question related to vacancy. Let us say expected rent given to you is 1,40,000. ARR is given to you is of 90,000 and vacancy is of 3 months. Okay. So tell me what will be the value of GAV. Try it. Don't worry about it, Arsh. Don't worry. Okay, try this particular question.
Sir, GAV will be 1,40,000.
GAV will be 1,40,000. Okay, let me check. Yes, GAV will be 1,40,000. How we are supposed to calculate it? Students who are not able to derive the correct answer, let me show to them. Since vacancy is given, you need to convert it into per month basis. So you will divide expected rent by 12 and actual rent by 9. Why? Because for 3 months it was vacant. If it would have been vacant for 4 months, then you would have been dividing it by 8. Okay, so actual rent divided by 9. So you will be getting, it will be same 11,000 something, and here it will be 10,000. Okay. So out of 11,000 something, 11,000 is higher. So the original value of expected rent will be your GAV, 1,40,000. Any doubt? Just let me know, because only.
No doubt, sir.
Okay, shall we move on to the next? Shall we move on to the next category? I think. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then give the heading. Hmm. Give the heading treatment of outstanding rent. Treatment of outstanding rent. And write no, not right now. Ignore outstanding rent completely. So if the question outstanding rent is given to you, nothing is to be done, because you must understand that we are taking ARR into consideration. ARR, that is actual rent received or receivable. Receivable means outstanding. It has not been received yet. So whether the rent has been received or not received, you will consider it as received. So whenever outstanding rent is given to you, do not give it specific treatment. Nothing is to be done. You will solve the question normally. Fine. But if you are given unrealized rent, then you have to give it a consideration. Give the next heading, and I will tell you the difference between both. Treatment of unrealized rent. Treatment of unrealized rent. Now, first of all, both outstanding rent and unrealized rent are those values which the owner has not received in hand. ना ही आउटस्टैंडिंग रेंट का पैसा मिला ओनर को और ना ही ये अनरियलाइज्ड रेंट का पैसा मिला है. In English language, these both are same. But in the language of law, a specific treatment has been given to both the cases. Unrealized rent means you have the proper proof that you are unable to collect the rent from the tenant. When you have the proper proof, then that outstanding rent will be the unrealized rent. If you do not have any proof, then it will be outstanding rent, and no specific treatment has been given under the law to the outstanding rent. Why this provision has been interjected? Because understand, as the assessee, as the taxpayer, if you observe that whatever rent you are collecting, you need to pay income tax on it, then what you will be doing? You will be collecting all the amount of rent in cash, and in the books of account, you will be showing it as outstanding rent. And you will end up paying zero amount of tax to the government. अगर ये प्रोविजन ना हो तो तुमने सारा का सारा पैसा कैश में लेना है और अपनी इनकम में दिखाना नहीं. इनकम में दिखाओगे नहीं, सरकार के पास टैक्स आएगा नहीं, सरकार को वही नुकसान हो जाएगा. तो इसलिए सरकार ने बोला भाई आउटस्टैंडिंग रेंट का मेरे पास कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है, चाहे रेंट मिले चाहे नहीं मिला, टैक्स दो तुम. हाँ, लेकिन अगर वो अनरियलाइज रेंट है, नहीं मिल रहा, कोर्ट के अंदर केस कर रखा है तुमने टेनेंट पे, फिर तुम उस केस के फाइल की कॉपी लगाओगे कि भाई मैंने कोर्ट में केस कर रखा है, नहीं आ रहा रेंट. अगर प्रूफ है, प्रॉपर लीगल डॉक्यूमेंटेड प्रूफ है कि हाँ ये पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है मुझे, दिस इज अनरियलाइज्ड रेंट, then in that case it will be allowed as a deduction from your income. Are you getting my point? So if in the question it is all about semantics, if in the question it is providing you outstanding rent, just forget that whether outstanding rent is written in the question or not. भूल जाओ, लिखा ही नहीं. But if in the question it is using the term unrealized rent, then you have to take that particular thing into consideration. Outstanding rent, ignore it completely. Unrealized rent, take into consideration. Okay. So I hope that unrealized rent is absolutely clear to you. And as far as treatment of unrealized rent is concerned, just write down ARR, actual rent received or receivable. Write it like this way: unrealized rent will be subtracted from ARR. Unrealized rent will be subtracted from ARR. And let us discuss a question on the basis of it, and then we will move further. Let us say ER is again 1,40,000. Remember, in the question, it is not written that whether 1,40,000 is per month or it is per annum. So when it is not given to you, you will always consider it as per annum only. Okay, so 1,40,000 is per annum, ER. Then ARR, that is actual rent receivable. Just write it as rent receivable, because ARR is also received also. Rent receivable. Rent receivable is let it be 1,44,000 per annum. If per annum would not have been written, then also it is per annum only. Then you have vacancy of 2 months this time. 2 months. And also write municipal taxes paid by tenant. Tenant. Make sure municipal tax is paid by tenant. 20,000. Unrealized rent. 12,000. Okay. Outstanding rent. 24,000. Note down this question and then we will discuss the solution of it. Quickly note it down. And give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Then I will start discussing it. It will be a last question for today. And after discussing certain concepts, then you may leave the class. Okay. Very slowly I am moving so that each and everything is interjected in your head in an efficient way. Note it down quickly. Okay. So I hope you have completed noting this question down and let us solve this now. First of all, as I have told you, outstanding rent is not of any use. Completely ignore. It is not written in the question. Okay, completely ignore this. Then you have municipal taxes paid by the tenant. If you remember in the previous slides, I have told you if it is paid by the owner, then only we will consider it. Otherwise, we will not consider it. So again, it is also not of any use to us. It is the irrelevant information given to us. We have vacancy of 2 months. We have vacancy of 2 months. Vacancies need to be considered. Do not confuse vacancy with unrealized rent or outstanding rent. Vacancy is different. Outstanding rent or unrealized rent means that there was someone in the house and he is not paying you the rent. Vacancy means there is no one in the house. It was vacant, it was empty. When there is no one in the house, it is called vacancy. It has to be treated in a separate manner. And when there is someone in the house and is not paying you the interest, it has to be treated in a separate manner. Fine. So we have vacancy, we consider this vacancy and we have done a lot of sum. So whenever vacancy is there, the first thing which you need to do is to convert it into per month basis. But Very important. Listen to me carefully. Here, rent receivable is of per annum. Yes or no? Rent receivable is of 12 months, but 2 months is vacant. So what must be our actual rent receivable? Actual rent receivable is supposed to be of 10 months. Fine, because 2 months is vacant. Actual rent receivable is supposed to be of 10 months. So tell me, what will be the actual rent receivable? It will be 1,44,000. Can you convert it into 10 months? It is for 12 months. Into 10 months divided by 12 months. So someone calculate this for me. Minus unrealized rent, that is of 12,000. Why have subtracted unrealized rent? Because unrealized rent will be subtracted from this actual rent receivable. Uh, just make it actual rent receivable, then it will be much more better term to be discussed. Actual rent receivable. Okay, and this is our actual rent received. Actual rent received. So 1,44,000, and we have subtracted 2 month vacancy. So we have taken 10 months minus actual rent or minus unrealized rent. Okay, unrealized rent was 12,000. So tell me, what will be the value after making all this calculation? Yes, what will be the value after making all these calculations?
1,08,000.
Okay, make sure that everyone else is also solving and getting the same. And if there is any kind of deviation, then let me know. Then I will cross verify. One
The
lakh eight
same
thousand.
answer.
Okay, great, great. So this is our ARR, that is 1,08,000. Now, since vacancy is given to you, what is your next step? You need to convert every item into per month basis. So tell me, what will be actual rent receivable according to this value per month? Actual rent receivable per month. Actual rent receivable per month. Yes, 108. Okay, I just lost uh, the audio in between. Let me repeat that since vacancy is given to you, you need to calculate all these value on per month basis. So actual rent receivable per month will be this value is for 10 months. So what will be the value for 1 month divided by 10? Yes or no? So it will be 10800. Then you have expected rent 1,40,000 per annum. Per annum, it is for whole year. So expected rent per month will be 11,667. That is 1,40,000 divided by 12. You will not divide it by 10 because this is expected. This is expected, not actual. Expected is always for whole year. Okay. Whichever amount is higher, 1 lakh, oh sorry, 11, the amount of expected rent is higher. So your gross annual value will be 1,40,000. Your gross annual value will be 1,40,000. And remember, your gross annual value will be either 1,40,000 or it will be either 1,08,000. So right now, expected rent was higher. So that's why the gross annual value was 1,40,000. Any point not clear or any point not clear? Now in the chat box, tell me the value of NAV, net annual value. What is the value of NAV? For reference, NAV is nothing but GAV minus municipal taxes paid by the owner. NAV is GAV minus municipal taxes paid by the owner. Yes, what will be the value for NAV?
Sir, 1,40,000.
Yes, correct. Correct. Good, Nipun. Good. Very good. 1,40,000 the correct answer. You people are getting on the right track. I hope that now you will not face any kind of difficulty in solving these GAV sums. Just repeat these questions again. Okay. Just repeat these questions again. Now, let me share another slide with you. The second last slide for today. And then we will be moving further. Okay. The second last slide. Tell me, is the text readable? Can you read what is being shared?
Yes,
Deduction
sir.
allowed from NAV. Okay. Before that, this is the format for calculating the income from house property. And one sum I will give it as a homework because it is very easy. The only headache is to calculate the amount of GAV and NAV. Rest it is very easy. So what is the format? Step number 1 is compute expected rent. Okay. Then you need to compare it with actual rent receivable. And then after calculating GAV, when you will subtract municipal taxes paid by the owner, you will calculate NAV. So till NAV, it is clear to everyone that how NAV is derived. After deriving NAV, you are allowed to subtract two things that are deduction under section 24. Remember this section. After calculating NAV, subtract two things and you will be getting income from house property. What these two things are? The first one is 30% of NAV. This is standard deduction. This deduction is allowable to everyone. Whatever is the value for NAV, 30% straightforward, you can claim it as deduction. And then is interest. Interest means if you have taken a loan for building the house, for building a building, for building a shop, for building a factory, you have taken a loan. Definitely, you would have been paying certain interest on that loan. That interest you can also claim as deduction. And when you will subtract standard deduction, that is 30%, and the amount of interest, you will get income from house property. And on this income, the percentage of tax will be applicable. This is the whole chapter, very easy. Income from house property is the most easiest chapter among all the heads. And yes, other sources as well, because when you are on the way of completing the 5 heads, the income from 5 heads, 90% of other sources covered on. Today, in today's class, you have learned that if building and land or building and other service are can be separated, then definitely other services will go into income from other sources or business and profession. So in every chapter, certain items of other sources you are covering. So it would not be a difficult topic, but yes, income from house property is very easy. If you invest a certain level of time into it, sums are very easy, provisions are very easy. And yes, this is the only format which you need to understood. So what are the deductions? What are these deduction under section 24? These are the deduction. The last slide, and then this particular topic will be over. And everyone, please mute yourself. Everyone, mute yourself. Yes, thank you so much. So what are these deductions? So first one is that if your property is let out, it means you have given it to somebody else on rent. If you have given this property on rent, then in that case, just wait for a moment. If you have given the property on rent, then you will be allowed a standard deduction of 30%, definitely. And whatever interest you are paying, which you have taken in the form of loan for constructing that house property, that interest, yes, that interest is fully allowed as deduction. Deduct the whole amount of interest. Deduct the whole amount of interest from here. Okay. Deduct the whole amount of interest from here to calculate income from house property. But if it is a self-occupied house, okay, if it is a self-occupied house, then you must understand there is some limitation on the interest. There is some limitations on the interest. Now, what these limitations are, we need to understand, and then our lecture for today will be over. So just bear with me for some more time. What are the limitations of the interest? The first limitation is that if you have built a house, if you have constructed a house, and if you have taken the loan before 1/4/99, it's a date, you need to remember this date. If you have taken a loan before 1/4/99, then maximum interest allowed as deduction is 30,000. Maximum. But if you have taken loan after 1/4/39 and if you have taken loan after 1/4/99 and you have completed the construction within 5 years, ठीक है, 1/4/1999 के बाद लोन लिया और 5 साल के अंदर अंदर कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट कर दी, तो 2 लाख की डिडक्शन मिलेगी। अगर खुद रह रहे हो घर में तो 2 लाख की डिडक्शन मिलेगी। अगर नहीं कंप्लीट की कंस्ट्रक्शन 5 साल में तो फिर 30,000 की मिलेगी डिडक्शन। याद कर लो इसको, अभी याद कर लो। डिडक्शन अगर सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड है तब तुम्हें इंटरेस्ट की डिडक्शन 2 केसेस में मिलती है। पहला, अगर तुमने लोन 1/4/1999 से पहले लिया है। दूसरा, अगर तुमने लोन 1/4/1999 के बाद लिया है। पहले लिया है तो मैक्सिमम 30,000 इज एग्जम्प्ट। बाद में लिया है और 5 साल के अंदर अंदर बना लिया तो 2 लाख की एग्जम्पशन। अगर 5 साल में कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हो पाई आफ्टर टेकिंग द लोन, then you will only have the deduction of 30,000. So this is the chart. You need to learn this particular chart, and yes, this provision is also there that if house is already there, if building is already there, then and on the existing building you are doing some repair, you're constructing other things, some minute things. If for the purpose of reconstruction, for what do we call it, renovation, for renewal, the maximum interest allowed is 30,000. So I have given this in the form of flow chart. I hope it is clear to you, and if it is clear to you, then this sum is your homework, this question number 2. Okay, I will be giving you the answer of this particular question in the groups, and and we can also discuss it tomorrow as well. So is it okay if we meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock for rent free accommodation? Tomorrow will be the class of rent free accommodation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as far as the class of rent free accommodation is concerned, I will be conducted on any other medium, not on Microsoft Teams, because Microsoft Teams has certain limitations. Just tell me one thing, that uh, is the option of generating poll is on the Microsoft Teams? Does Microsoft Team has such option?